In the summer of 2024, a gripping tale unfolded from the depths of space, capturing the world's attention. The Boeing Starliner mission and its crew dominated global news, not for a heroic success, but for a dramatic failure. This wasn't merely a case of a malfunctioning spacecraft and two stranded astronauts. The story carried far greater implications. To understand the true cause of Starliner's challenges, we must delve beyond the headlines and explore the inner workings of NASA and the broader spaceflight industry. At the heart of this story is Boeing, the company leading the mission. In hindsight, Boeing's missteps and controversies are evident today. Yet when NASA initially chose Boeing to spearhead human space exploration, the decision appeared sound. Boeing had an impressive legacy. It built the first stage of the Saturn rocket, the lunar rover, components of the space shuttle, and essential modules of the International Space Station. The company also developed the Delta IV rocket and had decades of expertise in military and commercial aviation. By the early 2000s, Boeing was a respected and reliable name in aerospace. A pivotal event foreshadowed challenges for Boeing. In 1997, the company acquired McDonnell Douglas for $4 billion, a deal that many believe changed Boeing's identity. Prior to the merger, Boeing was celebrated as an engineer-driven organization, prioritizing safety and quality above profits. However, McDonnell Douglas's culture, emphasizing shareholder interests and cost-cutting, began to dominate. Industry observers often remark that McDonnell Douglas effectively acquired Boeing using Boeing's own resources. While the cultural shift unfolded gradually, its profound impact became evident over time. In 2010, Boeing introduced the Starliner, a partially reusable crew capsule developed as part of NASA's Commercial Crew Program. The Starliner spacecraft, designed to replace the retiring Space Shuttle, is built for autonomous operation, but also includes manual controls for pilots. It features an advanced propulsion system for precise maneuvering, including 52 thrusters in its service module. These consist of 28 Reaction Control System (RCS) thrusters for in-flight orientation, 20 Orbital Maneuvering and Attitude Control (OMAC) thrusters for orbital velocity adjustments, and 4 RS-88 rocket engines for emergency ascent aborts. The thrusters are organized into 4 doghouses around the service module, each containing a combination of OMAC and RCS nozzles. Additionally, 12 RCS thrusters in the crew capsule manage orientation during re-entry. This sophisticated system ensures exceptional maneuverability for docking with the International Space Station or future space stations. However, its complexity introduces potential vulnerabilities, as each thruster represents a possible point of failure. The story of the Starliner is one marked by ambition and setbacks, where technological hurdles and corporate decisions intersected, resulting in a mission remembered for all the wrong reasons. Now, let's turn our attention to the astronauts behind this mission, Barry Butch Wilmore and Sunita Suni Williams, two of NASA's most experienced veterans. It's clear why this dynamic pair was chosen for such a demanding mission. Suni, a fan favorite, has spent 322 days in space across 2 missions and completed more than 50 hours of spacewalks. Before NASA, she served as a Navy diver, combat helicopter pilot during Operation Desert Shield, and was a member of the Society of Experimental Test Pilots. Butch, a Navy veteran and combat fighter pilot during Operation Desert Storm, has completed 2 orbital missions, including a 2009 Space Shuttle Atlantis flight. For both of them, this infamous Starliner mission is probably their last trip into space. These two embody resilience, excelling in high-stakes, life-or-death situations. The idea that they suffered at the ISS? That's ridiculous. Now that we know the key players involved, how did they get to this point? Back in 2010, Boeing was awarded $18 million from NASA through the Commercial Crew Development Program. While it wasn't a huge amount, it provided just enough to begin transforming the Starliner concept into reality. Confident in their timeline, Boeing aimed to have a fully operational spacecraft by 2015, provided funding remained consistent. In 2011, NASA granted Boeing access to its orbiter processing facility, which had previously been used to maintain the Space Shuttle fleet. Over the next 3 years, NASA invested significantly in the project. $92 million, $460 million, and $10 million. Everything appeared to be progressing smoothly. Boeing, supported by substantial government funding, was thriving and actively lobbied for a sole-source contract to ensure full funding for the program. However, William Gerstenmaier, NASA's lead for human exploration, saw the risks in depending on a single company. Advocating for more funding to foster competition, he pushed for alternative options. As a result, in 2014, NASA awarded contracts to both Boeing and SpaceX, with Boeing receiving $4.2 billion. SpaceX secured $2.6 billion for its Crew Dragon. To receive the full payment, both companies were required to complete an abort test, an uncrewed orbital flight, a crewed flight, and 6 ISS missions. Boeing, however, missed its 2015 target. The Starliner's uncrewed test flight was delayed multiple times, first to 2017, then to 2018, and ultimately to 2019. Accustomed to cost-plus contracts, where expenses are reimbursed with an additional fee, Boeing struggled with the fixed-price contract, where every cost reduction impacted profits. Their focus on cost-cutting led to Starliner's failure, as the project never received the support it needed despite its promising concept. In December 2019, Starliner was launched aboard an Atlas V rocket, but things went wrong almost immediately. The spacecraft's clock was off by 11 hours, preventing it from performing crucial maneuvers. By the time it attempted to fix the issue, it had used too much fuel to dock with the ISS. To make matters worse, a software bug discovered just hours before re-entry could have led to a disastrous collision between the crew capsule and the service module. NASA called it a highly visible close call, but the capsule ultimately returned to Earth safely. Sunita Williams named it Calypso, referencing the character from the Odyssey who traps Odysseus, an apt metaphor for the mission. Although Starliner's thruster issues may seem familiar, the failures during its initial test flight were due to software bugs, not hardware malfunctions. At the time, these bugs appeared to be a simple fix, even though Starliner had already experienced severe thruster problems in 2018. During a hot-fire test of its 4 large abort engines, half of the propellant valves became stuck open, causing 4,000 pounds of toxic hydrazine to leak and ignite into a huge fireball. Despite years of software fixes, persistent issues with 13 malfunctioning fuel valves remained unresolved. Attempts to repair them were unsuccessful, forcing the rocket to be sent back to the factory and the launch to be canceled. The cause was traced to corrosion, where moisture combined with the propellant, causing the valves to rust shut. Boeing pointed the finger at Aerojet Rocketdyne for providing faulty hardware, while Aerojet blamed Boeing for inadequate communication. These aerospace giants, once hailed for their roles in the moon landings, were now locked in a dispute over why an empty capsule couldn't even reach orbit. NASA's astronaut team, tasked with overseeing the Starliner project, spotted early warning signs. Astronaut Doug Hurley observed that Boeing engineers were dismissive and overly confident, even neglecting to report a propellant leak during a port test. On the other hand, SpaceX engineers were open to collaboration and feedback. As a result, Hurley chose not to fly on Starliner, instead taking command of the Crew Dragon's historic mission in 2020. By May 2022, Starliner was back on the launch pad. Although the Atlas V booster operated as expected, 2 OMAC thrusters failed during orbital insertion. Additionally, RCS thrusters malfunctioned during docking due to low combustion chamber pressure. Fortunately, the spacecraft's system redundancies ensured it successfully docked with the ISS. While the mission wasn't flawless, it was considered good enough. Starliner's issues raised questions about the cause of the problems. The initial delays appeared to be due to scheduling conflicts and the need for additional testing. However, thruster failures during the approach to the ISS left Boeing engineers confused. A hot fire test provided more data but failed to offer definitive answers. To identify the issue, engineers built a ground testing rig, further delaying Starliner's return. It became clear that astronauts Butch and Sunita wouldn't return until at least late July. While some headlines suggested they were stranded, the reality was much less dramatic. NASA had stocked extra food supplies and prepared tasks for them on the ISS. They remained busy repairing equipment, conducting experiments, and even hosting live press conferences. The main issue stemmed from a Teflon seal in the thruster oxygen valve that expanded due to high heat, blocking oxidizer flow and leading to reduced thrust. This problem had never arisen during previous flights and couldn't be replicated in testing.